market-based economic model and the information that the Zeitgeist Movement is proposing isn't perfect. There's no perfect. It's just, it's a lot better than a market system. The way to look at that is to look around at the results. Do you want to talk about, oh, well, he didn't answer my question, so we're going to just truck along with 3 billion people dying? Or is the system that takes care of everybody? What are you going to consider? It's like now we're looking at things from a different point of view. And there are lots of facets about this that aren't concrete or aren't certain yet. But the logic, as far as an empirical reference to the environments that we live in, that's observable. That's knowledge. That's something that we can actually have a relationship with and measure and basically, it's a cold connotation to me, but calculate how things are going to unfold as far as societal operations. Would I want to keep working my life away and watch things crumble around me as people lose their purchasing power? Someone said earlier, freely exchange, and I'm thinking to myself, that's bullshit. I can't freely exchange anything. My freedom is tied to my purchasing power in this system. If I can't afford to buy anything, if I don't have purchasing power, I have no freedom. I have no freedom whatsoever. So I would rather be in a system where that is off the table and I am free to be able to contribute. I am free to be able to pursue my interests. I'm free to be able to create some sort of value for my life beyond my job. So anyway, so I just wanted to throw that out there for people because as a wrapping up thought, this is a lot better than anything that we might have thought of before. It's part of a transition. It's part of an evolution of a logic based on a scientific approach. And that has not really been done before.
I just wanted to add, I had this thought when you were talking that sometimes we do have people that challenge us on this notion of, oh, you would limit the population of the planet and, these notions. And, the planet limits the planet. But I would say, are these the same, are these people also standing up for poverty? I mean, you know what I mean? It's a different grouping. They're not usually the same people I see in conversations of, well, how can we prevent that today? How can we create a system that actually supports life? And that's what we're doing too. So they're kind of viewing one side of it and not the other, and you have to really consider what we're talking about. We're talking about valuing human life tremendously and having our system be built around human values. So I don't think you can get, and it's something that, like he said too, we don't use the word utopia. Other people use that about because they want to put us in a box, but there is no final frontier. As Jacques Fresco has said, scientific method is this is the best we can do with what we know now, and if we continue in that model, then we would be continuously improving. So when people sometimes have questions about, oh, well, they find one thing wrong with what we're talking about, or I don't think that will work out perfectly, so they'll throw it all out. And I think, well, if it were 50% better than today, would you be up for that? If it were even 10% better than what we have now, wouldn't you consider it then? I mean, so I'm just asking, can we all get on board with the scientific method in approaching, a lot of these problems, which are technical, and that's basically what we're getting down to.
Yeah. Go ahead. Great.
Just say your name and a question.
Of course. Yes, good evening. I'm Dr. Thomas Halley. I'm a holistic practitioner and a psychotherapist. I've enjoyed your presentation. I will say that in some important ways we seem to be on the same page. In some ways I'm surprised at that. I have 3 brief questions. If I may, I'll state those and just sit down. The first one, it's been shown there seems to be a strong link between climate change and HAARP technology experiments in several places around the world, and I'm wondering how we might stop this dangerous sabotaging of the planet. Number 2, since the system is characterized by plenty of psychopathology, how might we ensure that this be addressed? And 3, in this effort, how do we neutralize entities such as the Free Trade Advocates, the Trilateral Commission, Council on Foreign Relations, Bilderbergers, Federal Reserve System, World Bank, and the IMF? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see, regarding HAARP, lots of unique stuff happens around HARP, I would have to admit, and it's highly secret, and I think we can all rest assured that there's heavy military interest in whatever the hell they're doing over there. Stealing Nikola Tesla's work, even though it's not really his work, as I stated earlier, but using his great ideas for what appear to be, or could easily be, very negative weaponry. How do you address something like that? How do you address the sickness of the Pentagon? You think about why these people feel the need to create these weapons, if in fact that's what they're doing. Why do they feel the need to want to seek and destroy and limit other people's ability to gain access to certain things? This really, again, goes back down to the very foundation of the immature nature of where we are as a species and our inability to recognize the necessity we need to work together. Because if one country can develop severe energy weapons over here, another one steals those energy weapons, boom, you have the Cold War scenario all over again. But maybe this time it isn't just huge explosions and nuclear winter, which eventually would have killed us. Maybe it's the vaporization of all of humanity. Who knows what the crazy shit these people would come up with. So it's very responsible for us to keep an eye on such things. I couldn't give you a direct solution, but it's going to be a consciousness thing. You know what I mean? I mean, how do you, I mean, obviously if we knew what they were doing, we would easily seek out, activist protests to bring awareness to it and to try and shut it down in the interim. So that's obvious. I'm going to let Jenna answer the question on psychotherapy. Excuse me, yeah. But as far as the other question, the Bilderberg, the upper 1%ers, the Bilderberg, the Trilateral Commission, the Council on Foreign Relations, all these tumors, as they are, they're tumors of a system that's a cancer. They are personality amalgams of corruption, as we call it, meaning those that are seeking advantage to the highest degree, meaning they interfere with political establishments. They work to control as much as possible as far as commerce in particular regions amongst different companies, cartels like the Federal Reserve Bank. These are all little hegemonic pockets that we should have expected a long, long time ago to emerge, just as they emerged in the Roman Empire when the similar market values and the elitism and everything else, the divinity of kings. It's basically the same type of stratification that we've always had in a sort of a feudal construct, but now it's hidden. It seems like these groups are not fulfilling the roles that those early despots did many, many centuries ago. But again, they're outgrowths of this system. So what do you expect? What do you expect with Bilderberg Group? A massive conglomerate of politicians and legislators and corporations, essentially it's pure fascism, meeting in secret with no public knowledge, at least no transcripts, working to plan what they want to do with the world. What did we expect? That's what this system is. When everything's for sale, bought and sold, this is just an amalgam of just a conglomerate, if you will, of the energy that is at the base of the need to self-preserve and to gain as much strategy you can to achieve whatever power goals, hence monetary goals, inevitably you wish to obtain. And there you go.
As far as in a resource-based economy, the psychological aspects and kind of therapeutic aspects, I like to think of, when I think of Maslow's hierarchy of human needs, so what happens when we sort of raise the bar there, and what else can we explore? I mean, when you are meeting the needs of people, then you're at a different place of where people are coming from in an orientation to relationships with each other and in learning about life and taking in information. And one of the things that comes up often is people ask us questions about, what do you do with people who are murderers or who are rapists in this kind of society? What would happen of people who are troubled in this sense? And one of the things that we could embrace with a resource-based economy is actually finding out what is really causing that, instead of having the model we have today, the correctional system, which really isn't very correctional. It's sort of its own monetary system, profit motive-driven enterprise of just detaining people. And there's information that could be had by learning more about what is causing, is it biological, is it an environmental thing, learning more and more and gathering more information so that we can improve the environment to enhance everybody's well-being. So that's something that I definitely look forward to.
You could argue that a lot of it is functional nervous system.
I mentioned earlier the work by Richard Wilkinson, who studies class, and you ever wonder why America has the most skyrocketing murder rates on the planet? Are we really that different from our Canadian neighbors and our genes? Isn't America comprised of people from all nationalities across the world, immigrants that came to this country? Why do we have those insane murder rates and crime rates? It's because we have almost the largest class stratification on the planet. Per capita, we have definitely the largest class stratification on the planet. Class stratification sets up a serious psychosocial stress that I denoted in the presentation. So that's a root cause. And this science is getting out there, but yet it completely destroys the foundation of the class system, which is a staple of the market model. So how do you implement that mental health change when it goes against the traditional structure that we have? So it's built right in. Thank you. Are we out of time? Thank you very much, everybody. We got to go. Appreciate you coming. It's a lot of stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean,